Well, since we are on a college campus, I did want to start off with a pop quiz. Who are these two guys? Say it loud, yes. All right, A plus, A plus, all right. Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, 1976, building the first Apple computer in a small garage just up the street in Los Altos, California, forever changing the landscape of personal computing. Now that exact same year, 1976, this red lowrider would pull into this small garage off of King and Story Road in San Jose, known for a period of time as the cruising capital of California, and would transform into one of the baddest lowriders to come out of San Jose. Technicolor, known for its innovative paint job, its upholstery, and its hydraulic technology, it was the car to beat in competition for a good while. So you're probably sitting there, why is he talking about Steve Jobs and lowriders? What do they have to do? What do they have in common? Well, if you didn't know, San Jose is the capital of Silicon Valley. It's written right there under their logo. But what we fail to realize is that in the streets of Silicon Valley, another culture-shifting movement was exploding, lowriding. So just like Apple computers wanted us to think different, lowriding empowered us to be different. Now I came across this quote that I think is going to set us off nicely. It goes, "Lowriders are mobile canvases where the artist is in the driver's seat." So what I'm going to tell you tonight is just one page of the history book of lowriding, but I hope that it inspires you to dig a little deeper after the talk. So I grew up in the 80s and 90s with Game Boys, cassette tapes, Blockbuster Video, and MTV. And we didn't have the internet, believe it or not, until 1995. So the most exciting thing after hearing this sound was hearing this sound.
You got mail.
Right. So you can imagine that my sphere of information access was relatively small. It came from my parents, my family, and my teachers. And I remember reading books in grade school and realizing now that those books, they weren't written from diverse perspectives. And they rarely reflected the lived experiences of the kids that were sitting next to me in class. In fact, most of the attempts at authentic storytelling oftentimes fell flat. Years later, my mom would give me a book about the Chicano experience written by Chicanos. And this opened my eyes and it forced me to ask deeper questions of my own family roots. And so I would ask my grandfather, Nicolas, about his time working with Cesar Chavez and the UFW. And I would ask my grandfather, Tomas, about how it was being a Chicano on the front lines of World War II. And it revealed a beautiful family history. And this drew me to other books, like I Am Joaquin, Zoot Suit, and The Earth Did Not Devour Him. Books that more aligned with my family's own lived experiences. And then one day, my good friend Bobby brought a lowrider model car to campus. It was hidden in his backpack. And I was hooked because this wasn't just a replica of a car. This car could actually hop like the real ones. And so I started to buy my own model cars at D&J Hobby, which was right down the street from here. I would go to East San Jose to Toy Castle to buy all the lowrider model car accessories. I was learning how to spray paint and airbrush. I was reading Street Low and lowrider bicycle magazines to get my own education. And my dad gave me his album, The Greatest Hits of War, with the title track, Lowrider, the theme song to the culture. And they bought me a lot of books, my parents, because they started to nurture this passion of mine. Because for the first time, I was able to manifest a part of the culture through my own creativity that was tangible. So fast forward to getting married, inheriting my grandfather's classic cars, and starting a family of our own. When my daughter was born, I wanted to teach her about the culture the way that I had learned, through books. But as I scoured the internet, I realized there wasn't a whole lot out there. And this is where the idea for the ABCs of lowriding popped into my head. A book that I wanted to write from an insider's perspective, a history book disguised as an ABC book, a book about a history that they won't teach us in schools. But this was more than just about a book. It became a challenge. It revolutionized the way that I think about access to information and generational knowledge, because guess what? So often our stories are told by others who resynthesize the culture for us as if lowriding is something new, but rarely do they tell us anything new about lowriding. So as I continued my pursuit of developing this book, more questions about lowriding started to pop into my head that I didn't have the answers to. Questions like, what was Sonny Madrid thinking when he came up with the idea to develop a lowrider magazine that would impact generations of lowriders? How was the iconic lowrider logo conceptualized? Who was the elusive teen angel, and how was he so masterfully able to capture the essence of the Chicano experience in his artwork? Now, I had a lot of these questions, and it led me down many rabbit holes and dead ends until it finally dawned on me that there's got to be people in our community that have these answers. And so I reached out to people that I knew, who knew people they knew, who were relatives of past car club presidents and other legendary lowriders, and I was able to track some of these people down and record their stories. And what they shared with me weren't just stories about cars. They were stories about community, identity, resilience, and diversity. The hidden histories of lowriding began to reveal themselves. Now, I'm well aware of the stereotypes that come along with being a lowrider. In fact, maybe some of you have some of these preconceived notions of what you think a lowrider is. But we have been dealing with these negative narratives ever since the first lowrider scraped off a driveway with a trunk full of sandbags to give it that perfect lowered stance. But seldomly do we get to look under the hood of the culture and realize who's actually driving these cars. Electricians, carpenters, doctors, lawyers, officers, firefighters, innovators, engineers, leaders of our community. Now, let me stress why it's critically important that we continue to connect these dots, because if we don't, outsiders are going to continue to misinterpret the meaning of lowrider culture. So here's the premier issue of Lowrider Magazine #1 from 1977 with Gloria Garcetti on the cover, displaying New Image Car Club across her back. Now, I came across an article that wrote an analysis or their interpretation of what this magazine cover meant and how it originated. But as I was conducting one of my lowrider interviews, a whole nother story revealed itself.
And Gloria's kids brought her to Time Warp. I was like shocked. She walked in and then Sonny happened to show up. It's like a reunion. This is the first lady to ever pose on Lowrider magazine. And I asked her the question because this question came up. Who took the picture? She goes, he did. Sonny took it. She said, he took my picture. I didn't want him to show my stomach because I was pregnant with him. So I didn't want my belly showing. So he turned around and showed me her jacket. So she's pregnant by her car. And that's how that picture was taken.
If we don't tell our own stories, somebody else will. And they may not always get it right. Lowriding, it is a lot like art, and there's a lot up for interpretation. But to truly understand it, you have to live it. You have to experience it, because nobody builds a lowrider to keep it hidden in their garage. Now, this is not an us versus them conversation, but an understanding that we go hand in hand with the creative spirit of this country. That while they were building personal computers, we were personalizing our rides. When they were building new technology to go faster, we were making our cars lower by using old aircraft parts. While they were changing the technology industry, we were redefining car customization and honoring our heritage. If we don't tell our own stories, somebody else will. Lowriding is woven into the driver's seat of California. It's embedded in the streets that connect barrios and neighborhoods from coast to coast, and it shines with pride in countries all over the world. We have to ensure that the rich history of these transit tattoos remains the jewels of the boulevard. We're witnessing a revolution, a renaissance. We have gone from criminals to local celebrities, from courtrooms to classrooms. We're witnessing anti-lowrider laws coming down and lowrider appreciation rising up. Lowriding is not just a movement, it is a legacy in motion. Órale, thank you.